Welcome back to our ranking of every single boss in Soulsborne. After last week's video on the bosses who barely scraped by the bottom 10, the overall quality rises a lot in this one. As always, we'd like to give a massive thank you to our patrons who continue to support us as we continue this series. And now, let's get into the video.
Number 150, Stray Demon. There are a lot of questions you could ask about this guy. Who is he and why does he look identical to the Asylum Demon? If he's a stray, how the hell did he get lost in a room with no openings his size whatsoever? Was he born and raised in this one tiny room? None of these questions have answers, but fortunately I'm not the kind of person who cares about that. What I do care about is how fun or not it is to whack him with dangerous objects. In his case, not very. This lardass is too blubbery to be much of a speedster, so he predominantly resorts to the time-honored tactics of crushing you to death with his rump and using his magic Gandalf stick to summon awkward AoE spells. The first of these is rather trite at this point, but it's a classic, so I really can't complain. It's the latter move that sends him tumbling down far, far below his weaker twin. These staff AoEs are absolutely busted and are the only thing between him being fodder and a genuine threat. Every time one of these things is unleashed, I just sigh and accept my fate that there's a 50% chance I'm getting sent flying by something I can't even see or possibly understand. They are, rather counterintuitively, not linked to the location of his staff despite it seemingly summoning them. Rather, it simply spawns into being somewhere in your general vicinity, which may or may not be at a distance where dodging even feels possible. It's never clearly in your view, so I just press dodge after half a second and pray. There's another variant that's way easier where it just spawns at his feet, which I don't really mind. Most of the time you're going to be walking back and forth behind him anyways, so if you're lucky this won't be a big deal. This isn't a fight that I found outright miserable, but the blatant copy-pasting of an already unremarkable boss and addition of a horribly broken AoE move makes the very existence of this boss a giant question mark. Maybe they just wanted an excuse to show off that they knew how to make a floor crumble under you, I don't know.
Number 149, Demon Fire Sage. I don't have anything new to say because Alex already said it. This is the Stray Demon, but he looks cooler, and that's kinda it. FromSoft went like 2 for 11 on the fights after Anor Londo, so I'm alright refighting some copy-pasted garbage over some unique piece of ass. I'm not as put off by the Demon Fire Sage's AoEs as Alex is, but in my opinion, they do have funky hitboxes. And he genuinely just did the ass slam for the entire time in my winning fight. Yeah, I died. But the one time I decided to emote, the slimy motherfucker did something else. I don't think I've ever seen anybody place Demon Fire Sage below the Stray Demon, but if you do think he's worse, tell us why in the comments.
Number 148, Belfry Gargoyles. This is the third rip-off boss in a row, but that's really a name and form only. For better or worse, depending on who you ask, it plays pretty differently from the similarly named Bell Gargoyles. For starters, they work on a timer rather than a health bar value system. You could have killed the first guy, or you could have been having a nice little rooftop tea party with him. The second guy doesn't give a fuck. He's gonna jump down after about 10 seconds, and this will continue in kind for every single gargoyle in the damn belfry until you or the statues drop dead. In case that description didn't make it obvious, letting this happen unchecked will thrust you into an unbearable fuckfest so brutal you'd have better luck storming the Pentagon with a Nerf gun. For most people, this is enough to make them sign off on the statement that this fight is a garbage heap, but I feel like there is a vision here if you peer deeply enough into the abyss. At its core, the fight is a frantic rush to kill each gargoyle before the next can arrive. Wow. That sounds kind of like the structure of a boss we've already talked about, but better because it's not unavoidable independent of player skill. Blood-starved bros, for homework I'd like you all to ponder this for a moment. The individual movesets of each gargoyle are pretty similar to their cousins from the parish, but a little more lively and with the awesome, really good hitboxes that are all over the place in Dark Souls 2. I think these guys catch a bit more hate than is deserved, especially on the ridiculous, disingenuous basis of being a clone boss. They're worse than the original, obviously, but they're not the exact same thing. It's a frustrating boss to be sure, but I find it pretty satisfying to scrape through despite the blatantly unfair odds.
Number 147, Gaping Dragon. Yeah, the Gaping Dragon looks like a vagina, whatever. That's a very low-hanging fruit. And by the way, you have to be one pussy-depraved motherfucker for that to be your one takeaway from this thing. But do you think they actually designed it that way? And maybe, was there a very cock-like boss that got scrapped? I honestly think it looks cool. I remember when the first Dark Souls Remastered trailer dropped during a Nintendo Direct in like 2019 or 2018, and they showed this cutscene in the trailer, and I physically jumped in the air out of excitement. The only way I could play Dark Souls at that time was Prepare to Die edition with DS Fix on Alex's basement computer, so I was lit. Anyways, this boss probably isn't deserving of a physical jump, but I do think the game would be worse off without it. Especially because the depths are a dog shit area with basically nothing rewarding in it, and the Gaping Dragon is a step above the rest of that crap. A lot of people complain about its walk attack, as well as its tail, but I have a rebuttal for both. One, the walk gives you almost 5 full seconds to move away, is slow, and he sits still after it. And two, the tail falls off with like 600 damage. And you can get free hits off after because it'll use an attack animation swinging its stump around like a fucking idiot. It also has a fairly expansive moveset and that cool ass grab attack. I also like that its head takes more damage than the body and bobs a little bit when you hit it. As you can see from our individual rankings, I had this much higher than Alex, and in my opinion, the Gaping Dragon deserves more appreciation than the community. So my microphone is pretty fucked up, which is annoying because I just got it for Christmas, but anyways, the final sentence was, deserves more appreciation than the community gives it. Fix your shit, Yeti.
I just think this guy has too much health and is mind-numbingly boring as a result. Doubly so if you don't use a meta weapon and have to suffer the toothpick damage of the S-stock like I did. I tried using something other than the Black Knight Halberd this time, I really did, and the game made me suffer for it. I used to be somewhat fond of him on the basis of his faint resemblance to a crocodile, one of my favorite creatures, but alas, not even that can spin wool into gold. Number 146, Dirty Colossus. This fellow is more or less exactly what the name suggests, an enormous, sentient mass of trash. At around 10 feet tall and 5 feet wide, I imagine there must be a veritable treasure trove of Kingdom Hearts discs somewhere in that nasty body of his. Lots of questions arise, like if it's just a creature covered in trash or something animated by magic akin to a golem. Either way, he looks awesome as fuck and fits in well with the theme of the Archstone. You can tell they were at least sort of trying with this boss, with the gimmick of the fly swarms and warding them off with fire and all that. The problem is they just didn't give him enough. He has like 3 moves, and dodging them is as simple as hanging out behind him and admiring the detail on those nasty bug larva things crawling around on him. Or the vivid effect should you have the foresight to slap on some turpentine and start a trash fire. On one hand, I'm glad this guy is a fraud, because facing an actual risk of death after running through 5-2 would be an outright inhumane disaster. But I can't help but feel that a little something extra could have made him a genuinely neat encounter, which is a shame. As with a few other bosses in this part of the list, the potential was there, but they just didn't quite run with it enough.
I think the Dirty Colossus can suck it. Am I terrible at fighting him? Yeah, but in my defense, fighting this thing is like boxing blindfolded. And all his tells are identical. In my opinion, he doesn't even look cool when you light him on fire, and even if he did, I wouldn't really care. Also, the bug idea is solid, but I can't stand that 1, it doesn't work until you walk into fire over just standing near one, and 2, the burning animation leaves you open to getting hit by the fly swarm again. I got locked in a cycle of getting hit by his Gatling pea shooter, using a moongrass, and then walking into the fire because of the forward movement of eating. And for the record, I'm not blaming the game, I just thought it was funny, okay? Number 145, Beast-Possessed Soul. I was gonna write a script about how pathetic this thing is, but then I remembered the one in Ailing Laron, and that was no pushover. I'd honestly say, of all the irrelevant Chalice bosses, that Beast-Possessed Soul is the most legit. First off, he has a complete attack pool and also a surprisingly large amount of health, both of which I wasn't expecting. At the end of the day, I still spent the majority of both fights trying to do a Cody Garbrandt impression and kept fucking up really bad, so it's still not like a genuine boss to me. It's like if I was treating a very small 13-year-old as a toddler. He can hit me if he gets mad, but I can just hit back harder. I actually gave up the gig entirely in the second fight and just waited for it to swing and fired off my blunderbuss over and over until it died. Beast-Possessed Soul is not fun at all, and the more I think about it actually, the less I like him.
Number 144, Fool's Idol. Demon Souls is very sporadic about where it chooses to spend its time developing lore behind the bosses. Sometimes you have stuff like the Leechmonger, whose lore is that it is a monger of leeches, and then you have the Fool's Idol, a false deity created by the old monk to entrap poor souls in the prison of hope by convincing them that their beloved former queen yet lives. Like, what's up with that? Did they just get to designing Archstone 5 and stop giving a fuck? Who am I kidding? I'm sure that's exactly what happened. The Tower of Latria in general has badass lore and looks awesome, so visually and story-wise, this boss is actually stronger than a good deal of others across the series. The issue here is the gameplay. For the record, I personally don't mind it. I respect that they were going for something different here with the floor memorization gimmick, and as much as I chide Demon Souls for going overboard in that department overall, this was a time that I felt it was more on the memorable side and forgivable in terms of its frustrating aspects. That said, I can imagine the Fool's Idol being annoying for first-time players for a number of reasons. For starters, it's literally unwinnable if you don't pay a visit upstairs to beat up that conniving Rumpelstiltskin fucker beforehand. I don't know who the hell would think to go up there instead of just walking in the boss room unless they'd seen a video or something on it. It's a strange little detail for sure. Also, if you do this as one of your first levels, it's going to be brutal. For some reason, I always do World 3 last, so it's never been an issue for me, but I have heard tales of people getting one shot after being paralyzed, which does sound incredibly frustrating given the run back. If you can get over all that though, or at least are familiar with its workings, it's not so bad. The atmosphere of the stained glass windows and green hue are right up my alley, so I partly acknowledge that my placement is centered on aesthetic merit, but I do think the memorization-based moveset with clones and floor traps is neat too.
Fool's Idol isn't horrible, but she's not good. Like Alex, my main takeaway from this is always the visuals. Even in 2008 Demon Souls, the lighting of the stained glass windows in the arena and the green gradient spread across 3-1 in general remains one of the best made areas in the whole series in terms of pure beauty. But I despise the floor traps. It's a Demon Souls boss, so the idea is cool, but it's also a Demon Souls boss, so the idea got pretty fucked up when it was put into action. I feel like what they should have done was leave some sort of faint residual on the floor, instead of giving you like 1 second to memorize 6 to 8 traps and leave you on your own. I also don't like where the clones spawn in. Like Crystal Sage, they're all in the open, and the traps are all in the open too. So, if you get caught, you get bombarded. And also like the Crystal Sage, half the time the pillars won't cover you from all angles, and you won't get a chance to heal. Number 143, Undead Giant, Blade. My fight with this thing lasted 53 seconds, and that includes me walking through the fog wall and emoting after. So really, my fight with this thing lasted like 45 seconds. If you fight the Undead Giant, or even just do the chalices at the intended level you're supposed to, you are either a fucking idiot, or one of those egomaniac dickbags who tells everyone a boss was easy because they beat it at a lower level than you did. I've never fought this thing at an even remotely fair level. I've always been like a full playthrough over what I should be fighting him at. But the chalices are lame, so frankly, I don't care. Either way, it doesn't really matter what level you fight him at. If this boss was a flavor, it'd be iceberg lettuce. It swings at you and does 1 AoE when you pop its zit. Isn't that gross also? Whenever I think about how an apocalypse would maybe be fun, the thought that I'd probably have some like nasty mushroom shit grow on me from no hygiene makes me think it probably would not be that fun. Anyways, at least the other undead giants did something. This thing stinks.
Number 142, Demon of Song. In my entire playthrough of the series for this video, no boss humiliated me more than the Demon of Song. Commonly regarded as a helpless fodder boss for good reason, I came in loaded with overconfidence and a firm belief that no matter what I did, I'd be dragging my nuts on his shriveled frog chin in 30 seconds. This unfortunately did not shake out the way I planned because I overlooked one little important detail. He hits like a fucking sledgehammer taped to an ICBM taped to a second, slightly bigger ICBM. If you just stand in front of his face and mash R1 like a chuckle nut, he's gonna pimp slap the teeth out of your head before you can even land your third blow. And so it is that in a funny way, he does demand a certain degree of respect. That said, if you keep your wits about you and take him seriously as far as not getting greedy with hits goes, then you'll be a happy camper. It's just rather hard to take him seriously because of the ubiquitous comparisons people make to his face-covering flesh and human foreskin. I'm not dissing his art direction, I actually love his design. The concept of the angelic singing you've been hearing this whole time coming from his ugly mug is intriguing. It just so happens to resemble, and function more so than form, an uncut human phallus. Personally, I am circumcised, so I can't claim to know exactly how accurate this gag is. Open call to all uncircumcised cytoscribers. By all means, sound off at length in the comments on the validity of this comparison. The Demon of Song has a bit more weighting involved in his fight than I'd have liked, and they could have stood to make his moveset more expansive than the 3 or so moves I've seen from him, but for design and atmospheric merit, he comes out alright in the grand scheme of things. Seems to be the running theme in this section of the list.
Number 141, Witches of Hemwick.
No. Wait.
Everyone thinks this fight is dog shit and stupid, and I think it's both. And I also think it's way too long and extremely repetitive. The gimmick is that the witches remain completely invisible until you get close enough to them, and then for some reason they stop being invisible. You hit them a couple times, they teleport away, and you repeat the process. At around 50% health, a second witch spawns in, and if you take too long killing that one, the other will just respawn again with 25% health, and so on and so on. This feels like a boss that started as a collective of thoughts the developers had in the shower that they decided to mash together to see what would happen. The main problem I have is that it lasts for fucking ever. I spent 5 minutes fighting these old farts. And the worst part about it is that they have the capability to one-shot, which can happen pretty easily, by the way. Their AoE does a ton of damage, and we all know about the throat slit. Getting hit by that is like watching a dog die in a movie, or on an Instagram reel, which for the record is in the above water portion of the reel's iceberg. I also think they should have just made it one witch, or two, but neither can respawn. If you enter the fight with insight, these goofy ghost things are also there, and are usually very passive, but here they were really aggressive. Generally speaking, if you have a high level weapon, you can end this quickly by doing a basic combo and then backstabbing them while they start their teleport animation. But if you don't do that, the Witches of Hemwick can be a grueling test of your mental endurance. This fight is pretty mediocre, but could have been really awful, so I'm grateful they're at worst just a dumb fuck boss.
Number 140, Vanguard Demon. As far as tutorial bosses who are supposed to kill you go, I think this guy is on the higher end. There's a good balance struck between ludicrously overpowered compared to your starting character and having a simple enough moveset that anyone familiar with the game has an alright shot at schooling him and checking out what lies beyond. Other than that though, he's basically Asylum Demon 1.0. The most notable thing about him is having a goofy ass track in the original Demon's Souls soundtrack, which, for the record, is probably one of the shittiest game OSTs I've ever heard. It's like 20 pieces of unfitting comical sounding garbage and then Made in Astraya's actually good theme just snuck in there. It really does say a lot that we've covered like the majority of the Demon's Souls boss roster less than halfway through a quality ranking, doesn't it?
Number 139, Crystal Sage. This fight made me so fucking angry. I heard this is basically where any non-generic run comes to an end. SL1? Get your ass out of here. Sorcerer build? Well, you know what? You actually kind of deserve it. But yeah, the Crystal Sage knows how to kick some ass. But not in a cool way. He knows how to kick some ass in an Antonio Conte kind of way. It's not fun to watch, and especially not fun to be the one whose ass is being kicked. But I'd say here, it's not your ass being kicked, it's your asshole getting fucking rammed by his tree stump of a wand. And wand isn't some weird synonym for penis, by the way. I meant his literal wand, because he probably doesn't even have a penis. And if he does, that overcompensation robe does a good job hiding it. I died here a bunch of times, but I'd like to use the one death I saved as an example for why we think this fight sucks a lot. In phase 2, the Sage begins spawning 3 clones. It's not like other fights where the clones are identical, as they have blue colored magic while the real one still uses purple colored magic. But they do dish out the same damage as the Crystal Sage, who probably has the most disproportionate damage balancing in Dark Souls 3 and maybe the entire series. There's very few protective barriers to hide behind when you need to heal, as usually at least one clone will have an angle to hit you from, and there are 0 protective pillars if you actually want to attack any of them, as they all spawn in the open. In essence, it's like the mobile strat for the original FNAF 420 mode. Total RNG. The Crystal Sage has a variety of attacks, but the only one worth worrying about is the Soul Spear. That thing can one-shot like nobody's business, man. And if you got 4 Soul Spears coming at you, good fucking luck. The teleportation mechanic is fine, but I do think it should only happen once at most during phase 2. Also, his theme sucks ass. If Dark Souls 3's soundtrack was the Beatles, the Crystal Sages theme is Revolution number 9. Overall, this fight isn't lame, but it's not fun at all either. Also, shout out YMFAH for his OP early guides. I'm never fighting this thing without a +6 Exile Greatsword again.
I would just like to confirm that this guy is a real fucker on a Soul Level 1 run. Dark Souls 3 as a whole, honestly, was by far the hardest game for me to clear at Soul Level 1 despite feeling the easiest in a normal playthrough for me. I think it's just more dependent on your HP stat than any other of the games. People used to clown me for always getting my ass beat by these jokers more than any other boss in Souls 3, but this playthrough I tried leveling Vigor more aggressively at the start, and sure enough, I had no problems. It really is a matter of your build as to if they're one-shot wizards or not. Number 138, Dark Sun Gwendolyn. Gwen made a lot of questionable decisions, like condemning humanity to an eternity of suffering among others, but I think putting your kid on hormone replacement therapy the moment they were born because of the moon is worth at least a little scrutiny. That said, Gwendolyn really didn't seem to mind, so maybe I should just mind my own business. What I can't ignore, however, is that this fight is awkward as hell. I won't say it's horrible because it's not, but running down a hallway and hiding behind pillars is something we've already established as generally unengaging and tedious. See our entry on the Dragon God some ways back. If you're a patient fellow, this will be a walk in the park. He seriously can't touch you as long as you're in the right position when he pulls out the bow or whatever. But should you fail to find cover in time, you're getting William Telled in the Kisser and sent to hell before you can even register what happened. Essentially, it is the same deal as the Dragon God with a perspective shift, but I should elaborate that is genuinely a massive improvement. The Dragon God sucks in large part due to how unclear it is when he's looking away, given he has eyes on the side of his fucking head. With Gwendolyn, it's not about stealth, but rather timing. Assuming you're capable of counting time in your head like a regular person who doesn't have cerebellar ataxia, this shouldn't be a big deal. It's not unfair and it's not unpleasant, but by nature of its gameplay, it's just not what most people come to Dark Souls for. The only people who seem to hold any degree of affinity for this fight are the ones who wear Galaxy decal hoodies from Amazon and memorize hentai codes like history dates, for reasons apparent to anybody who's been on the internet for more than a day.
Gwendolyn is pretty cool in my opinion, but if his whole thing was being protected by a spirit that can't be touched, maybe he shouldn't have made that spirit have the biggest pair of boobs in the history of the universe. And second, this fight does a good job showing your skill level, I feel like. And yeah, don't worry about me, I beat it first try. Although, I did forget the Soul Spear can warp through the pillars. If you get unlucky with teleportation AI, this can drag on a little longer than you'd probably like, but if you fight it with high damage, it's really fun to be honest. Gwendolyn feels like a Demon Souls boss that actually ended up working out. Number 137, Pinwheel. Well, what the fuck. I hope you guys actually pay attention to those transitions where we show our rankings, because in my opinion, no way is this boss better than any of the ones on here. The only things I can praise are the atmosphere and overall vibe, but not really. You're fighting in a gigantic coffin full of books. That's pretty fucking stupid. And also, the name Pinwheel is so unserious. That's like if a world champion boxer was named like Rainbow Twizzler. Real talk, I did think the cutscene theme and his design were pretty cool though. I actually let Pinwheel live for a couple minutes, and admittedly, it got pretty crazy. He can apparently spawn an unlimited number of clones, so while 1, 2, 3, or even 4 pinwheels are very manageable, I had like 9 in there, and I couldn't remember which one was the original. Although you do have to go through the catacombs to get to him. But if you're freaked out about having to go through the catacombs, don't worry. Just do the skip. It feels cool to do and takes like 30 seconds. Anyways, getting the Rite of Kindling is really important, so I always recommend beating this boss as early as possible.
Number 136, Guardian Dragon. Way back in the olden days, Jack and I used to do these Sporkle challenges for naming every Dark Souls boss whenever we got bored at school, and without fail, this forgettable bum would be the culprit if somebody was one entry short of a full list. He lacks the notoriety of the lowest dregs or the prestige of the top shelf contenders. Even among the numerous filler entries padding out the bloated Dark Souls 2 boss catalog, the Guardian Dragon stands out for not standing out in any way whatsoever. The Demon of Song is the foreskin frog, and Mytha is the Medusa chick. Najka is the one that goes underground one time, and the Covetous Demon is the fat fuck who lives in a windmill. The Guardian Dragon is a generic fantasy dragon with no lore to speak of, memorable theme to recall, or difficulty to etch a stake in your mind. You will without fail in every playthrough pass through his birdcage as if it were a McDonald's drive-thru with no thoughts of the matter at all. Hell, that might be a generous comparison. Sometimes I get sorta hung up on if I feel like going for a 1 or 2 patty burger. What else is there to say? I suppose I'll take this time to point out that in none of the actual good dragon fights is the dragon in question able to fly, save for Placidusax, who is generally immobile anyways. Some food for thought.
Number 135, Champions Gravetender and Gravetender Great Wolf. Alright, so usually I fight this thing really early as like my 6th or 7th boss. That's because I usually do the YMFAH Selzard Twinblade build, but obviously here I use the Exile Greatsword, and as it turns out, that changes this boss from a giant piece of shit to still a piece of shit, but you can pick it up in a poop bag. I went straight from Yorm to the DLC and decided to get my greatsword up to +8 or 9 with the Titanite chunks in the Painted World, and to get the most bang for your buck, you gotta fight these two. I guess the Champions Gravetender and Gravetender Great Wolf are sorta like the Half-Light of the Ariandel DLC. Also, why is it Gravetender Great Wolf and not Gravetenders? Unless he... I don't know, that's pretty fucking dumb, to be honest. Anyways, the fight begins as a 1v1 with the Gravetender NPC, and even with underleveled stats and weapons, he's very easy to deal with. He really doesn't do anything at all besides the cool little hologram his shield shoots out with its weapon art. Nice hologram, dude. He starts the fight with 4 wolf enemies who are annoying in the open world, but I feel like their AI is dialed down significantly here, and they're very easy to kill. After you get the NPC low, the Great Wolf joins in. But he joined in way too late, and I killed his companion before he could even try and stop me. Maybe he was at the post office trying to change his name to Gravetenders. Zing! The Great Wolf is really fucking annoying when the NPC is still alive, but alone, he's easy peasy. The main thing is that he just doesn't give you many windows to attack, especially when he gets below half health and begins doing the dash combos non-stop. However, with heavy strength weapons, you can knock the Great Wolf into a riposte attack, and once defeated, the bonfire provides a great checkpoint for you when you eventually come back to finish the rest of the DLC.
Number 134, Celestial Emissary. It's the Royal Rat Vanguard but with aliens, which is marginally more entertaining because they pose no threat whatsoever and look funnier. Sometimes it's just fun beating up people weaker than you, what can I say? I'm a bit rusty on the lore, but the way I remember it, people drank tap water in the research hall and it turned them ugly and dumb. A bit lazy to just steal from real life, where tap water also makes you ugly and dumb, but at least it's better than nothing. This placement is almost solely based on the fact that I enjoy watching these jellyhead buffoons get slapped around, and hitting the big one is extremely satisfying for some reason. It's cathartic, funny stuff.
Number 133, Dragon Rider. Hell yeah, this dude is a classic, which is pretty wild when you consider FromSoft probably put him in for the hell of it. There's no lore reason why there's one Dragon Rider in Hyde's Tower of Flame specifically. Well, there kind of is, but it's bullshit. The Dragon Riders were a unit in Vendrick's army, and after Vendrick exiled himself to the Undead Crypt, supposedly he lodged Dragon Riders at different posts along the path to the crypt, as well as one to protect his soul in the Shrine of Amana. Anyways, I really like this boss. For me, creativity goes a long way. And yes, the Dragon Rider himself is just a dork with a halberd. It's his arena that makes me so fond of him. The Dragon Rider's arena in its base form is a tiny little circle, which if you know the cheese, you know to leave it as is. However, if you don't know the cheese, fighting on this little kitty pedestal is probably a pain in the ass. So, across the Tower of Flame area, there are 2 levers that add outer layers to the arena, both guarded by old knights. And, well, that's it. It's just cool having the option to either cheese him or fight him straight up.
Number 132, Twin Dragon Riders. If you liked The Dragon Rider, I have super good news for you. This fight starts off with one guy trying to shoot you from the high ground, but his buddy can easily be tricked into busting up his portafort and sending him crashing down into melee range. Once that's taken care of, which is usually within 10 seconds of entering the room, the archer guy dies in about 3 hits and leaves you in another one-on-one with Big Daddy. Obviously, these two would place back-to-back on a ranking, but I prefer this one for the reason that it's super satisfying seeing how much damage you do to the weaker one. Doesn't hurt that the Dragon Rider himself is a decent boss in his own right. I'm tired of the slander, let's cut him a break, yeah?
Number 131, Old King Alond. Yeah man, I'm fucking horrible at fighting Old King Alon. The day I no damage him is the day I learn how to use the Force. But I also think partly why I'm so awful at fighting him is because he isn't particularly well designed. Most Demon Souls bosses fall under the umbrella of good concept, bad gameplay, but the others, like this, I'd label as easy yet annoyingly over-aggressive. In non-nerd talk, basically they're not fun. Old King Alon probably has the most aura of any Demon Souls boss, but that's because he has magic defense, not because he's cool or intimidating or anything like that. The Crescent Falchion breaks the shit out of this game, but having it nerfed at the final boss genuinely ruins the whole journey for me. Although, no matter what weapon you have, it takes a very long time to kill him. Also, 1-4 is an abysmal run-up. Yeah, it's short enough to be a run-up in my opinion. And even if you don't think it is, you can't deny that it still sucks. I think I might actually like it less than 3-3, 5-1, 5-2, and even 2-1. Not to mention, once again, the boss isn't very good either. The main problem I have is that Alon's damage balancing is just off, in an opposite way to the Crystal Sage. If he actually threatened me, I'd maybe try to learn how to beat him, but as it is, I just tank and swing at him like a phone booth boxing match. I do think his moveset is well made, but the AoE and Soul Drain are the only attacks that I've actually taken the time to memorize. And on the Soul Drain, it's a great idea, but my vigor dropping from 38 to 37 is pretty insignificant. If it was like a 5-level decrease, now we're talking. But Old King Alon is just simply too easy to be bad at, if that makes sense. It's not satisfying fighting this guy. It's like Flame Lurker, but a little better in my opinion. More on that in the next video. Or maybe the next one. Or maybe the one after that.
Number 130, Covetous Demon. The Covetous Demon is a grotesque abomination that was once human until he kept eating and eating until he bloated into his current form. All that to impress a girl, which makes you wonder where he got the idea that girls are into guys who binge eat. The moral of the story is that fat people are disgusting monsters that you should hit with swords or something like that. This guy is probably the runner-up behind Pinwheel for the most frequently ridiculed boss, no doubt owing to a combination of his pathetic sluggish movement and bloated physique. The most notable thing about him is of course the by now fairly well-known trivia fact that should you shoot down a carcass from the ceiling, he will take precious time to scarf it down regardless of the risk it poses to his survival. Much like DoorDash slaves will mindlessly toss away their money on slop regardless of its long-term health or financial impact, the Covetous Demon will devour anything he sees the moment he perceives it. This gives you the freedom to stick his blubbery hide with all kinds of instruments of pain, be they sharp or blunt, until he ignominiously expires. I find this fight hilarious. The people who think it's a top 10 worst boss in the series are crazy. You'd really rather have the Capra Demon or whoever busting your balls? There's just no way. The Covetous Demon is a harmless source of mirth and merriment, and a profound warning that skinny feels better than anything tastes.
Like Alex said, the Covetous Demon should have been on the if it tastes good, spit it out diet. Anyways, I just think its hitboxes are pretty fucked up. Which, if he was like 1.5 times faster, would matter a lot because he does a ton of damage too. I tried getting eaten by him a few times, but bailed at the last second right before it happened. I'm too scared. I heard it gets rid of your armor, and frankly, I clean up too nice for that to happen. Waiting to get eaten is like when you have your fingers in your mouth and you're about to pull trig. I'm always too much of a pussy to follow through. Number 129, Headless Ape. I think the Headless Ape is far and away Sekiro's worst boss. It's completely uninspired, it has zero creative elements, and it's actually one of the few times across all of the Souls games that I think the game would have been better off without it. But it's pretty damn awesome beating them, to be honest. Them, not it, because it's not the Headless Ape, it's Headless Ape and his little brown clone. I actually had a pretty good fight against them, but that's mainly because of my patience. I took 6 minutes 31 seconds to beat them. I'm sure you can do it a lot faster, but since the apes are the same character with the same AI, they stick together the whole time and will break your posture meter really quickly, especially if they hit you both at once like you see here. You'll deflect one attack, then just block the other. Anyways, I really like the Guardian Ape, so I'm sort of mixed on this. I think if they did this with any other boss, it'd be a lot worse. Also, I wonder if anyone's ever thought the Brown Ape should have had a headless phase. If you do think that, shut up. Anyways, this fight is one great phase of a boss, pasted together with the not as good phase of the same boss. Unsurprisingly, it's pretty bad.
Number 128, Loretta, Knight of the Halig Tree. Loretta fights you twice, but the only one we care about is the second fight with her real self in the brace of the Halig Tree. Although saying I care about this fight either is a stretch. To be honest, it's hard to understate how little of a fuck I give about this boss's existence. For whatever reason, it just doesn't stick in my memory. She rides a horse and shoots magic at you and that's it. Copy-paste generic-ass boss. Just imagine the Tree Sentinel, but it has annoying ranged moves. It's not so bad that I'd prefer to beat up some random fodder instead, but I really don't know why they felt the need to include this boss in the game, and twice at that.
Number 127, Scorpioness Najka. I started off this fight wearing the Vengarl helm, but then I took it off to show off the pink bowl cut. Najka's like those girls over COVID who would snap you with their mask on, and then when they were not masked up inside, it was like a different human. Her top half is probably an attractive girl, I can't see her face, while the bottom half is a scorpion. What's next? A girl whose bottom half is a giant spider? Yeah, right. This fight embarrassingly kicked my ass. It's a really awkward thing to deal with, and in my opinion, that's a positive. You have to mentally balance Najka's swipes with her wand, her magic, and her tails all at once, which is far more enjoyable than something more one-dimensional. Everyone always talks about the burrowing thing, but in my opinion, it's just kind of a dumb break that doesn't do anything. It's cool the first time, then never again. I've never tried to actually dodge it. I always just stand on the platform and like the messages. Dark Souls messages have that sort of weird dude at school vibe, where no matter what they say, even if they're totally serious, they're still kind of funny to me. Anyways, I like that you can cut off her tails. It adds another layer to the boss that further separates Najka from a lot of the bosses before her. While it's not incredibly exciting, Scorpioness Najka is still a fun and memorable boss.
Number 126, Moon Presence. This sure is an awesome looking final boss alright. Shame that it's a pathetic fraud who died so fast that my Beast Blood pellet was still active when New Game Plus started. I spend longer trying to kill those rolling ogre guys in Dark Souls 2 than I do putting down this embarrassing excuse for a great one. I like that move that works like Heartless Angel from Final Fantasy VII, where it lowers your HP to 1, but the recovery period where he stands still and takes it up the ass lets you essentially reset the fight to how it was beforehand, but minus half his health. There are some pros, like the awesome arena he poached from Gehrman, but as is, he's just a cooler looking Covetous demon to me. The balancing issues are made even worse by the fact that Bloodborne forces you into New Game Plus if you don't get cheeky and use a Bold Hunter's Mark after beating him, so he's always the final boss you face, including DLC and everything. As far as final bosses go, the Moon Presence is definitely the most pathetic, and that is saying something if you look at the competition.
Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't, and be sure to check out our Patreon, TikTok, and Discord server, all linked in the description. That's all for now. Deuces.